Lately I've been thinking a lot about how I spend my time and whether I'm spending it the way I want to. This year I've been really thinking a lot about how I spend my time, my money, and my energy. We all have the same 24 hours in a day, and when you factor in sleep, work, food, and in my case being a mum to a toddler, there really isn't much time left over in the day. Over the last year especially, I've noticed how easy it is to lose that time without even realizing it, to things like screen time or just things that aren't a priority to me. But instead of setting strict resolutions or end goals, I wanted to share the intentions that I'm going into this year with. These aren't about perfection or changing things overnight. It's about being more deliberate about what I say yes to, and just as importantly, what I say no to, and creating a life that feels calmer, more considerate, and more aligned with what matters to me right now. I've grouped these intentions into categories, so let's get started with everything to do with time, attention, and presence. My first intention for this year is to spend less time on my phone. I've realized over the last few months that I have quite a serious screen addiction. Before having a child, this wasn't a huge problem to me, but I'm noticing now that instead of spending time playing with my child, I'm sat scrolling through Reddit. Or when he's asleep, instead of getting things done around the house, I'm sat down watching YouTube videos. Now, I don't mind so much spending some time on YouTube. I love YouTube, I always have. But I really want to spend less time scrolling on my phone, especially around my son, and instead either play with him or do bits of housework around him. Going into my screen time, yesterday I spent 3 hours and 50 minutes on my phone, of which 2 hours was on Reddit. And that's not good enough. I want to be a good mum who's present with my child and who plays with him and engages with him. And I want to set a good example. And kind of related to that, my second intention this year is that I want to spend more time outdoors with my son. Even a few years ago, before I was a parent, I'd heard about this 1,000 hours outside challenge, which is basically that in a given year, you want to try and spend 1,000 hours outside with your children. Now, as great as that sounds, that's just under 3 hours a day, which that's not really achievable for us. That's quite a high number. That being said, I do like the sentiment of it. I do like the idea of spending more time outside in nature, letting him run around and have fun. And so this year, especially as the weather gets nicer in spring and summer, I definitely want to spend more time outside with my son. My third intention for this year is that I want us to do more activities as a family. So my son is now 18 months old, and he's really getting to that stage now where he's a lot more aware of what's going on around him. He has a lot more fun kind of exploring the world, seeing things. So I really want us to take train journeys, over a day, see new villages, see new sites, new places, maybe go to a garden centre, just see what's about and what fun things we can come up with together. My fourth intention for this year is I want to improve my sleep. Now, as you can imagine, for the last 18 months, sleep's not been great. It really hasn't. My son was not a good sleeper, and so I've dealt a lot with being sleep deprived and tired and grumpy and irritable. But we're at a stage now where my son generally sleeps better now at night. Most nights he will sleep through, and I'm finding myself a lot more refreshed and relaxed. But what I want to improve on is when I sleep. Because here's the thing, I'm a morning person. I always have been. But I find now that when I put my son to sleep, I'm so desperate for just a sit down and a cup of tea that I end up just sitting binging YouTube for 2 hours, which means I end up going to bed late, and then I get woken up in the mornings, or I'm tired in the mornings. And what I really want to do is go to bed not long after my son, and then instead wake up earlier and have more time to myself in the morning. So I realized I can either have time to myself in the evening, or I can have time to myself in the morning, but I can't have both. And so if I had to choose one, I'd rather have the time in the morning. So my plan for this year is to try and shift my patterns so that I go to sleep earlier and wake up earlier. The next kind of category of intentions I have is all to do with the home and daily routines. So number 5, I want to get better at keeping a tidy home. My husband and I are messy people by nature. Tidying things away, putting things away does not come naturally to us. But I do find that when I do take the time to tidy things away, clean things away, my concentration improves when it comes to work. I feel much more relaxed in my space. I feel like my space is cozier, a place I really want to spend time in. And so what I've started doing this year, and I plan to continue to do, is after putting my son to bed in the evening, I'll spend 15 minutes just tidying everything away, putting toys away, wiping down surfaces, hoovering the floors, doing everything I need to do so that the house looks clean and organized and tidy. And this has helped so much for me to not feel stressed, for me to feel relaxed in my own home, to feel like it's a cozy space that I want to spend time in. Number 6, kind of related to the last one, I want to develop good routines for maintaining our home. And what I mean by that is getting into a routine of doing laundry daily, every other day, finding a cleaning schedule that works for us, and just staying on top of things that need maintenance. This year I want to sort our garden out, so when that's all sorted, there's going to be things to look after and maintain there. I want to make sure I have a good routine for doing it. Number 7, I want to decorate our home in a way that feels very deliberate and very authentic to us. So I mentioned in my previous video that we moved into this house just over a year ago, and we've done lots of different bits of decorating up until now, but there's still a lot to be done. It's not finished by any means, but I don't want to rush it. I don't want to buy lots of things for the home or make decisions right away just to fill the space. I think it's much better to live in the space, see what we need, see what we want, what we like, what we don't like. And I only want to buy things for the house if I find something that I really love. Which brings me to the next category, which is all about money and consumption. First of all, I want to be really deliberate this year about how I spend my money. I want to spend money on things that really matter to me. I kind of realized 2 things over the last year. First of all, everything we buy comes at the cost of having more money in our savings. So whenever we buy something, say a top for £20, before I buy the item, I ask myself, do I want to spend this £20 on this top? Or would I rather have that £20 still in my savings? And it's kind of interesting to see which things are still important to you after asking that question and which things you can go without. The second thing I've realized sort of in the last year or so about spending is that everything we buy is something that we have to store in our home and look after and maintain for the foreseeable future. And that's a lot of effort. You know, the space in our home is really valuable, and the more things we have, the more cluttered the space is, the more difficult it is to find things that we actually need. So I think it's important before we buy things to think about, is this really something that I'm going to value for years to come, or something that's going to bring me joy? Or is this going to be something that's going to take up space, just be clutter and just get in the way of other things? Number 9, I want to put more money this year into my stocks and shares ISA and my pension. Before having a child, I've got to be honest, I wasn't much into sort of personal finance, and I didn't know much about investing, saving, preparing for the future. But becoming a parent kind of changes all that. And I'm now in a position where I'm thinking a lot about the future. I'm thinking about what I want the future to look like, how long I want to work for, how much money I'm going to need. And so last year I set up an ISA for myself, I set up a pension, and I become very conscious about moving money into those accounts after I've been paid, so that I don't even really miss it. It's just gone from the start. The last thing kind of in the money/consumption category is that I want to build a more intentional wardrobe for myself this year. Since becoming a mum 18 months ago, I've found that I don't actually have a lot of clothes in my wardrobe that I like or that fit me. And I've also found that my style has changed quite a lot recently. I used to wear a lot more sort of black and muted colours, but recently I've gotten a lot more into wearing sort of brighter colours, fun colours, and colours that I think suit me a lot better. And so I've been slowly trying to incorporate new pieces into my wardrobe, and I would like to keep building on that. I've also in the last 2 years gotten really into sort of colour analysis, and I would love to get a colour analysis done for myself. I'm pretty sure I'm a spring, that's my best guess. But I'd love to get a professional opinion and maybe see if I can find my sub-season. This next category is all to do with sort of food and cooking. So intention number 11, I want to do more baking this year. I already do a lot of baking. I love to bake, it's one of my main hobbies. But this year I just want to kind of push myself to do it more and to kind of expand my library of recipes I have. Part of kind of the saving money aspect of this year is I want to spend less money on our food shopping. I feel like that's one area where we maybe overspend quite a bit and we could really do with cutting back on. And one of the main problem areas for us is kind of chocolate and sweets, but it can get really expensive. And so what I'm trialing this year is to see if I can cut down on our spending on chocolate by replacing it with constantly having baked goods on hand. So far I've been making lots and lots of cookies this year, which they do have chocolate in them, but it's the cheap baking kind, and they are delicious. It's the Jane's Patisserie triple chocolate chip cookies. If you haven't made them, go make them, they're amazing. I've also been making a lot of cinnamon buns so far, but I would love to explore more recipes, and I would love to start making my own bread this year. Now, I have made bread in the past, but it's been quite a few years since, so I would really like to get back into it. Intention number 12. I want to build a library of really quick, easy, cheap recipes to make. I've always considered myself someone who enjoys cooking, And I do, but not always. It kind of comes in waves, and when I'm really busy with work and when I've got a lot of other projects, other things on my mind, cooking can really become a chore. And I kind of realized that it's not one of my main hobbies. It's not one of my favorite things to do. And so the problem is that when I don't feel like cooking, we always turn to convenience food. You know, ready meals, pre-prepared food that just goes in the oven. And you know, that can become quite expensive if you buy those things a lot. So I kind of want to build a collection of recipes that don't take too much time, primarily, also that are cheap and easy to do and don't take a lot of effort. And the final category of intentions for today is all to do with creativity, work, and personal fulfillment. Number 13, I want to knit more this year. I've always kind of considered knitting one of my main hobbies, but the truth is I don't do it enough. I've been knitting for close to 20 years now. I learned it as a child from my grandmother, and I've worked on a lot of projects over the years, but I don't actually have a lot of finished objects to show for it. The reason being is that I always start new projects. I get really excited for about a month and then I move on to other things, other interests, and I never end up actually finishing things. But this year I really want that to change, and I think what I've realized is that I can't spend too much time on it a day, but if I'm intentional in spending a little bit of time every day, then eventually I will actually be able to finish, say, a garment for myself or for my family. And what I've kind of realized is I'm not going to be able to knit for hours every day. I don't have that kind of time, but I can knit 1 or 2 rounds a day, and over time that will add up and I will be able to finish projects. So that's something I really want to do this year. Just cutting in to show what I am currently working on. This is the Maybe Forever sweater by Kuta Kika. It's beautiful. This is my first time knitting brioche and it's gorgeous. I love this stitch. Number 14, I want to work this year on growing my business. So I have been a wedding videographer for coming up to 7 years now. I started my business with my husband, we still work together, and since having our baby, I have stepped back from a lot of the filming, but I am still working behind the scenes in admin and editing, and I kind of feel like since being pregnant and since having a child, it's not been my focus to sort of think about growth when it comes to the business. We've been more sort of focused on just maintaining and keeping things going. But I've been really inspired this year to try and grow the business more. I want to put more time this year into marketing, learning marketing, promoting ourselves more. And I also really want to work on improving our workflow. Because what usually happens is that at the end of the year, just before Christmas, we're stressed. We're trying to get all the weddings edited and sent out before Christmas so that we come into the year with an empty editing queue. But last year especially, with a young baby, it just became really difficult to stay on top of things and to get all of our weddings done by the end of the year. And we kind of realized at the end of the year that we had to change something this year. We had to improve our workflow. So that's something I really want to figure out how we can improve on this year. And the last intention I have for this year is that I want to post consistently to this YouTube channel. Now this is a new project for me this year. I've never posted anything to YouTube before. This is completely new territory, but I've always been a fan of YouTube. I've always been on YouTube as a consumer, and I really love it as a platform. I love following my favorite creators, and I've always had it as an idea that maybe I could do that. Maybe I could make videos for YouTube. And so I've started it this year. This is new, this is exciting, and I'm really looking forward to carrying on with it throughout the year. I'm not necessarily going to set myself a goal of posting every single week because I know at the end of the year it will get difficult, and I think if I then miss a week I'll feel really disappointed. So instead I'm coming into this with the intention of posting somewhat consistently, and that's good enough. Thank you if you have stayed to the end. These intentions aren't about changing everything overnight. They're just about being more conscious, being more deliberate about how I spend my time. I really look forward to sharing this year with you on YouTube. I hope to see you around.